If I give the impression at any point that I'm making it all up as we go this year. Before field day, education, July, we've got a general class starting July 8th, every Saturday morning, be in this room. And there's always that'll feed into a PE session. August, second Sunday of August. So well, we have a lot of your technicians these days. Come get your demo license, because the technician license that you've already gotten is the hardest step. Every step after that is just expanding on what you're already doing. Yeah, don't do that. So field day. When I got my license 4 years ago, everybody was talking about field day and everybody knew everything about field day. And I didn't have any idea what they were talking about. Field day has been going on for about 100 years. The American Radio Relay League is the event creator. It involves hams leaving their houses and going and operating in a group in a place that they don't normally run their radio. And this has meant a lot of different things. This technology has changed over the years. You can imagine, go back into days that operating remote was pretty special. It's a lot easier with our batteries and solid state radios now. But we still have a lot of the same problems, and most of them involve. We can set up really good radios in our house that work really well, and all of a sudden you put it next to your 10 of your closest friends' radios. Cool. There's a lot of interference and things. So our team every year, like just about every club, is how do we limit interference? And we've got some ground rules for doing so that I think Bill is going to be sending to put up on the website, which is a good starting document. We've got a pretty good plan the last couple of years that aren't put together, so we're just developing that a bit more. In our case, it's going to be at Dickens Patch again. We've been there for 2 years already. We are very fortunate that the Sherwood Development Company Corporation Sherwood Development Corporation has made the site available to us. And June 24th and 25th, we set up on the 23rd. We'll draw a map here in a moment of it. We are allowed to set up on Friday. It's been pointed out to me, we can actually do some setup on Thursday. You know that? Yes. Okay. I will be taking care of some of the things on Thursday, but last year on Friday, we ended up doing 2 or 3 times because we had a lot of very enthusiastic members. And we weren't all looking at the same plan necessarily. So I'll get some of that out of the way Thursday, so that we can just jump right in there Friday at noon and be efficient. Right? You're going to be amazed at this. The scale and detail are going to be exact. There's always surprises people how well I do this. That's very accurate. Road there, field there. That is Dickens Patch. North is up. This is the dirt road we all pulled in on and we base everything off of. There's another dirt track about there and a ditch that runs like that. There's a point there and a tree right there that's exactly 600 foot long, and that's where all of our antennas are going to go, just like that. With luck, we'll get them on that line on the first try instead of the second or third try. Last year, remember, we had a tent up here, a tent here, and a tent there. They're all very far apart. We're going to have the Thousand Oaks City trailer again there with the 2 meters and up stations. One of the tents is going to be very close to there. And we're not setting all the radios up in that. I think we can fit everybody into 2 tents for operating. This will be for public information table, all that stuff going around near the front. So we can have a place to hang up the banner and make it feel like a place. And a little less piecemeal than set up last year. The other 2 tents, we're going to do close up again to each other. I think a lot of people felt that we were so spread out last year, it was hard to socialize. And again, for the new people, we don't get together and set up radios and spend 24 hours hammering QSOs the whole time. Instead, most people tend to like to sit down for a while and hammer them out. And a lot of hanging. So it's fine. If they want to do that, they can go right at their radio at the big bench. And incidentally, just as a side, I've seen a lot of just friendly conversation going on. Hands are hands. Yeah. As much as different clubs in the county talk about how different they are on field day, I think all three sites the last couple of years.
You all one big group on them.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to tell the difference. There's a different technical approach to every site.
Yes, very much.
If people aren't going to be at our event the whole time, I'd really recommend going by the rating libraries. The cars is set up extremely impressive. There's some really high-end equipment there that people spend the entire year working on it, perfecting for one day. And if you really have the time, the Ventura County Amateur Radio Club down at Oxnard College is a different approach from we take. We tend to have one of the largest field day setups in the country, number of stations operating, and that involves a lot of extra work to deal with the interference issue. A lot of clubs do like Ventura, they're largely set up in a big grassy area, and how it goes is how it goes. And that's another valid way of operating a group. You get a different set of challenges with interference and different lessons you learn on you. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Generators will be right here. Or that. So it's really close. Over on this side, we'll have the barbecue. Pretty much even with the center tent. And Robert and Kat will have their RV there, everything else in that area. I have one rant I'm going to give everybody. I took all of the, not all of it, but a lot of the trash and recycling home last year. And not only was the trash full of plastic bottles, 3/4 of them were full of water. And all of that annoys me. We use too much plastic as it is. And I'm a tree hugger. We're just not going to do that this year. We'll have water stations in each tent with sparklet type water, set in nice buckets with ice. It'll be cold, much nicer than plastic bottles. I have a lot of paper cups I'll have, but if you have a water bottle, especially an insulated one, please bring it. And that'll be nice. Also, practically speaking, just because the charts here will have fire extinguishers in every location, those have already been lined up. We've got the generators lined up, and I think we have all of the electrical system lined up. The last step we'll do is on Friday after the setup. Well, let me back up a little bit. When we're done lining up band captains and we know what radios we're working with, Bill and I are going to work out the antenna plan, which really means Bill's probably going to go. I say encouraging things. At that point, we should probably be able to provide all the masks that are needed. I don't think any band captains need masks. I will have them built up, half of them already are, with eyeline kits taped onto them and so forth. We've got a string that I will take and mark out and run out along there. And then on Thursday night, I'm going to drop every mast on its spot where it belongs. Last year, if you remember, we had some masts. They're all interdependent, the way we did this long string of dipoles. And a couple didn't show up until 11 o'clock on Saturday. And that didn't just affect that station, it affected the ones who didn't have either side. So I will have my hands on all the masks about a week before field day. And if you want to use your own mask, that's great. Just make sure you're talking with me about it. Get that done. Once those are all dropped, we come out on Friday and starting about noon, set up tents, and people are working on setting up masks. It's then going to be an off limits area during field day. We'll put a caution tape like that, keep people out of there, because there's going to be a lot of guidelines and a lot of things to fall over. The other thing I should mention that's very important, the property is much bigger. There's a big fence along here. In this area here, do not go, do not step foot. Don't even look at it. No, you can look at it. There's some beautiful valley oaks there that are distressed. They're ancient trees and really treasures, maybe walking on the roots of that. So when we're out here working on this, just remember, don't ever go past any of this. Right, Gary?
I have other comments.
Okay. 11 o'clock on Saturday is when the event starts. We then get ready, everybody to key up a radio that's going to be operating. That's when we actually figure out what our class is going to be. Will be alpha, which is common for clubs. Right now, looking at the band captains we have signed up, we're going to be at 15 alpha, which is pretty large. And at one point, this club hit at 22. Last year, we were at 17. Again, we're usually one of the biggest in the country, if not the biggest. We're also usually not one of the biggest scorers. You know, this year we might get more, but we'll see. The idea is to have fun. So.
Field day is not a contest.
Yeah, what he said. If you're new to this, you're going to hear that phrase a few hundred times. There are a lot of contests that we do during the year, but we really do try to do as many contests. And no matter how many times we say that, field day is one of them. There are a lot of people that take it extremely serious to score, getting as many contacts as possible. And if that's your thing, yeah, do it. We'll keep people from making too much noise into your station, that kind of thing. It's operating is still the priority. But that being said, last year I didn't make a single cue stop. Right. You know, there were enough other things that needed to be worked on. So
I ran 10 meter for several years. I did very.
yeah. One thing about being a band captain, I'll explain what that is, because everybody who's doing this before knows, but other people won't. A band captain is somebody who sets up a radio that once we start the event, I almost said contest, is restricted to that mode and band for the duration of the event. You don't have to sit and run a radio for 24 hours to be a band captain. You also don't need to be there for 24 hours. The main thing you need to do is be the person who's going to be responsible for getting a radio, power supply, coax, an antenna, and the filters, which are actually provided by the club, to make sure you've got them and you set it up and that somebody is able to use that station for the 24 hours. A lot of people show up because they just want to operate a radio, and that really is the point here. There should be a choice at any time of the day, with whatever band is working well, there should be radios that you can sit down and operate. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're not interested in the idea of having to bring out a bunch of expensive equipment if you're in the field overnight, don't worry about it. I still want you to come to field day. For one, it really is our biggest social event of the year. It's unreal. But also, you're going to see a lot of people operating, and you're all of a sudden going to have a different thought about it. It's,
and there will be equipment for you to use.
yes.
Okay. I mean, when he talks about a band captain, that band captain's responsible for that station to bring it, make sure it works, make sure it's hooked up, and to allow you, the operator, to use it to make use of it. Okay. So don't worry about that portion of it. And don't bring your own radio. You were going to get to that, I'm sure.
It's possible to be a band captain even if you don't own an HF radio. We have, I think, 4 available. The members are making available for anybody to use. Some of the equipment, like the filters, these are key parts. The club is providing a filter for every station, as well as any coax or connectors and antennas that are needed. The club owns several antennas. So we have at least one dipole for 10, 15, and 20 meters. We have 2 very large tri-band beam antennas that are going to be up 50 feet in the air. You don't have to own any of this equipment. If you don't own anything and you see on the list that we'll talk about later that there's an open spot and you're thinking of filling it, email me and say, what equipment do I need? All you have to do is make sure you're the one saying, okay, I'm borrowing this from this person, so that when it comes time to set up, I don't have to scramble around on Saturday trying to figure out what happened. Now, set up, a lot of people in the club come and volunteer starting about noon on Friday. if you're working, whatever, you don't need to be there if you're a band captain on Friday. But it does really help to come on Friday after work. We got plenty of daylight, get the radio set up and tested. Friday night, everybody's gonna sleep a lot better Friday night. Radios are all together. If we have to do it Saturday morning, it starts to get scary. We got scared pretty good, but I feel. Again, if it happens, it happens, but the goal is to try and be less awkward every year. So that's the site. I'm gonna have a camping area. I initially was thinking camping over here, still am. If you're gonna operate all night, it doesn't hurt if you bring a tent, a sleeping bag, and knock it off for an hour or two one night. I'm gonna spend both nights there. I'd like to have some other people to stay overnight with me to guard the equipment if nobody's operating. Which is one reason we might have camping up here closer to the front entrance. So that people would be aware if anybody comes driving in. We have a gate we can shut, so if anybody's operating overnight, probably shut the gate. It's a gate. I know people. We do have other jobs I need to fill besides band captains. In fact, if we get no more band captains, we should have a really big lineup this year. Some of the more important ones is we need a safety officer. This is something we get points in the, it's not a contest for, I think it's 100 points to get a safety officer. And that person's gonna make sure that we don't have massive tripping hazards and fire hazards. Dumb choices being made and things like that. Gary, you did that in the past? Oh, okay. Gary to safety. You'll need a hard hat this year. In addition to that. We have the generators and all the power things, but we need somebody to be the electrician who will set the stuff up on Friday. This needs to be somebody who can set it up on Friday. And who will over the weekend monitor the gas levels and the generators and refuel them when needed. So if anybody wants to be our Sparky, raise a hand. If not, please keep searching. And I'd like an environmental monitor as well to make sure our trash is not overflowing. We'll put your miners in bags if they get full.
You have separate trash and recycling.
We will have separate trash and recycling because I don't like sorting. And I sorted a lot of it.
I think a whole lot of bottles.
Yeah. Yeah, the bottles are a lot harder to sort when they're covered with food. It really is easier if we can get it in. Now, band captains, and the other thing you will need is a table and a chair. And a lot of people have extra tables and chairs, but again, the captain just has to make sure that I know who I'm going to borrow mine from. We will have a list going with our spreadsheet online of people that have gear, including tables. Pop-ups, I think we only really need it for the barbecue ads. We're going to use the main, one of the big tents for these. All the stuff that used to be at the front of the event, and a kind of an unsightly collection of pop-ups.
My pop-up is important.
For the barbecue, how many do you think we should have? Sun was a problem for the barbecue that year.
What was the book? Sitting down and being out there, yeah. Real, I've got a side. Actually, it's 12 by 12.
I've got 1 10 by 10. The people.
At least two.
Right.
I can lend you one to you.
Okay. If you could email that information to me then. Emails are so much more durable. Even when I take notes. If you know me, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know me, you'll learn. Email me again. Need me to know.
Sounds like it sounds
Oh, wait, I was already counting the money. I was gonna make on that. Oh. Sorry, it's ham radio. Do you think we need, I can't remember, we're darn here, do you think we need another generator for the boat?
I think so.
Your question. Mike, do you think we need a generator at the barbecue?
So, anything that we need power for, they provided with their car.
Okay,
That's right.
okay.
They've got solar panels.
Got Good, and they have already confirmed the RV. Keep in mind, if you're available on Friday, we really could use anybody there if possible. Because everything else, we've got these tents to set up. The people who have seen the tents know what I'm talking about. 10 or 15 people is about what it takes to make it easy. If you haven't been there before and seen these tents, they're amazing. They belong to the Office of Emergency Services of Ventura County. They're these big, it's like a Quonset hut that folds up into a 4x4x4 cube with this spectacularly complicated series of hinges and
I remember seeing them deployed during the COVID emergency. Yes.
and in exchange for using them, Rob Hansen usually guides people doing all the maintenance and repair work on them that needs to be done this year. So last year was busy. You know, they've been off for several years of COVID testing, treatment and lots of troubles in it. They were in bad shape. He spent most of the week in repair. So maybe keep it in mind that helping out Rob with that would be one of the to do. It's a trick repairing those things when they're up.
Preparing when there's a last.
Yeah, but I think they're about 30 feet by 30 feet.
There's
20 by 30, okay.
Yeah,
They're honking today.
and you need just as many people to help put them away.
Yes. Right. As far as tearing down, that happens after 11 o'clock on Sunday. Obviously, because everybody's still there operating. First hour is putting our radios away. And again, on Friday, we'll need a crew to erect the two big 50-foot military masts. That's usually just people from the 10 crew. Ed and Barry, they have 6XP, are going to be picking up the tents from Camarillo Airport Friday morning. Thursday.
So 50-foot crank, you're talking about the logs.
Yeah, one of them's at Rob's house and one actually is in my garage. This will be a chance to dislodge the dust. I'm going to be having coffee 24/7. That'll either be in the front tent that we're talking about for PIO or over by coffee the whole time. And we'll talk and see if we can do something about having some kind of snacks around too. Especially, you know, if you're there and you've operated all night, come around 6 o'clock on Sunday. I'll open the devil on. We'll work on that. Portaloos will be the same as last year, two loos and 2 washing stations. I mentioned already needing a trash person monitoring. So that's the I am looking at notes. I'm not spelling it.
Order the air conditioner this year.
Yeah.
Sure you did.
We've always networked our computers, and it's been a hard job. Last year at the end of the field day, we were talking about just running laptops with a thumb drive and then combining ADA files at the end of the day. And so that was our fallback plan. Ed, do you want to talk a bit about what we're going to try and do?
Yeah, we're gonna try the native M3FJT software networking. So it's got something built in, and we're gonna be testing it as a LAN party at my house on the 3rd. And anyone wants to come and join in, they're welcome to. We're gonna be supplying 6 laptops. And what we're gonna do is just do a mock trial and see if everything works as we anticipate. If it doesn't, the fallback is the thumb drive on everybody else.
We shouldn't have to fall back on paper log anywhere. So no double entry there, but, you know, yeah, in the worst case, we combine the data file. That really is pretty, I do this daily. I still used to do it daily with the board members. Not a big deal. As you mentioned, the club has 6 computers available, so if people are being a band captain, it doesn't mean you have to have your own computer. If you don't have one available, we do. We have a lot more bands than 6. So.
They all Windows 10 or better? Yes.
Yeah, so no jam operating system. Doesn't work.
And I may be able to scare off another laptop.
Okay. For those of you that already have signed up for band captain, send me emails with the equipment that you'll be able to provide and the equipment you like this. Because I'd like to kind of be that clearinghouse of who's borrowing what. That way I know what I need to worry about. You don't need another 100 feet of coax for that 1.2 gig. That's right.
Short and sweet.
Because I don't think we can afford coax. As mentioning the front tent being where public information will be, I'm using that term generically for everything that isn't people being on the radio. In spite of the site being a fairly remote spot, last year we had a lot of visitors. I think we had more visitors logged than any time we ever did over on Maple. It's a curiously visible site.
That's where the more boys can go.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, which is going to count as our education facility. That's still perfect.
Yeah, that's all right. We beat you anyway.
It's not a contest.
It's not a
Trash talking is part of field day too.
Yeah. Yeah, trash talking is a contest, and arguing about the rules of field day is always a contest.
Oh. If you've never had a debate over a rule for field day, you have not lived.
Well, it's usually not that big a deal unless you're fighting stew about it.
That's right. Big meanie, it's a meanie.
Yeah. And whichever side of
It's okay, he volunteered to be the king.
We are having a Zoom meeting to talk about this. A lot of people are coming anyway. Every Wednesday night, the website has the ID and passcode for it. It's informal. There's not an agenda. One of the reasons I wanted to do it is I haven't done this before. Most of you know, a couple of years ago, I was pretty sick. While I had COVID, I had several strokes. And taking on field day was one of the things that my therapist said, hey, you need a long-term project there. Trying to kill you. So, sorry, you guys are my experiment. I was gonna say therapy, but no, I'm looking around, this isn't therapy. But I really don't know what I'm forgetting, everything else. So these Zoom meetings are just a reality check. Because people pop up every now and then and say, you know, have we been arranging for such and such? At the last club meeting, Rob came up to me and said, oh, you want to use the tents this year? And I thought, yeah, because I assumed we'd ask the tent. Turns out I needed to ask Rob to go arrange the tent. That's why we're having a meeting every week. Don't be afraid of telling me I've forgotten. I have no idea how much I forgot. I think we have reached a point with the event that at this point, as hams, we're all just going to show up and make it work.
Another question, okay, so I'm still not gonna bring 5 gallon sparklers in.
Mhm.
Do you have pumps or something to?
Yes. Yep. I already own the pumps for them, which is a lot nicer than the little gravity driven, spigot. Because the pump you can fill up a glass quick. And it also means we don't have to slip the bottle upside down. Yeah. And we don't look like the kind of crowd that like. So we have one more day left for practice before field day. Zach and Ed and I, we run the board now, we start monthly micro field day, June 17th, the week before field day. We're having field day. We gotta do it. Yeah. One of the things we did at the last micro field day is verify that West Mountain,
The epic power.
yeah, the Epic Power Gate solar charger is safety news. This was a good piece of knowledge. We've had issues in the past with solar chargers that people, it's field day. You'd like to bring your batteries and your solar panels because they're not necessarily required. Some of them are allowed.
Define loud so people just don't know what
Everybody with a radio hears your solar control. You don't hear it standing next to it, but the interference they can cause can be brutal. Last year we had one, but in particular, so this year the rule I had laid was we're not using solar unless we've gone to some kind of public event with a lot of radios to verify the gear list. So we've got the West Mountain Epic Power Gate.
And there are others that can be used that way.
Yeah.
It would be really, really good to have them checked out at the 17th, so that you absolutely know that you're not gonna be the bad guy.
There will be details on the website and the mail list on how to get there. If you want to bring it by, even if you don't want to bring the whole setup, we've got 8 or 10 people using the HF radio. It's field day. We can plug it into any system and see what's on. And at that point, everybody knows that that piece of equipment is good for use from now to whenever it dies. And it means if you still bring it on field day and it's causing interference, somebody's gonna have to come up and say you got it. We've done that too, and it's not fun to say to somebody.
This is the 117.
Rancho Potrero, the place on Lynn Road in Newbury Park, Los Santos. Ted?
One other thing too, to look out for, and cut this out, is if I don't bring the solar, I still seem to be my solar charger seems to be pretty quiet. I tested that at home. But then if you have a battery, you don't want to bring solar, you want to hook up electrical and use a trickle charger. I have a trickle charger that absolutely obliterates everything to be meters on up. So I won't be using that one. So I've got another one. So even if it's not a solar charger going, it's just a trickle charger. Check it out as well.
Yes. Yeah, one of the nice things with the Epic Power Gates is that you can get the 120 volt from the generator and charge your battery, run your radio off the battery. And as we turn off the generators to refuel, because we're going to do that, right, safety officer? I think last year we had some hot fueling going on. Especially in Santa Monica Mountains. Yeah, we will want to shut down the generator to refuel them. And there will be perhaps seconds as we switch from one generator to the other, perhaps a couple of before it's refueled. Those people that are running the battery and charger won't have to care. The rest of us aren't going to be bothered if we have to shut down for time. Stu has just mentioned for micro field day on the 17th, test gear and RS interference. If you can make the date. So that's a fun time to bring your stuff anyway, just to see what it does.
Bring out a couple.
Bring a generator.
Yeah. We haven't tested no.
I haven't tested that one yet.
I know Stu's tested his, which is remarkable, and he's got a great video about it. Fortunately, it's going to be some other field day.
Yes, I'm better. Some of that, a couple of my other generators that are RF quiet. That ever field day side. Yeah.
Maybe we'll test my generator at the land park.
Oh, that's a great place to test it. I mean, he knows what I mean.
Wait. If you do want to bring your solar panels and controller and battery, that is fine, but Bill's already got a station that's running off solar, which is all that they are. And mostly what we're after is those bonus points.
Because they're really trying to beat us over the rate. It's really important. And again, remember, field day is not a contest.
Actually, I have a desire to be your support. Because if we did, I'd feel so let down. Reagan. That you guys didn't do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's face it, we actually operate. Oh, I'm gonna go get some coffee.
Can you walk it?
I could explain, for those of you that don't know, I'm very involved with the Reagan Library field day. And I have done it ever since I've been in amateur radio. I happen to be the president of the Ventura County Amateur Radio Society. I'm not allowed to mention anything more than that in the meeting, or the president will take me outside and shot. So, it may occur anyway.
It would have nothing to do with it.
Well, that's true. It would have to do with all the others.
No, I'm also a member of that club, and quite a lot of what I have learned in 4 years. And we've had days when the rivalry was crippling, and now lamb sleeps with the lion, and ain't gonna study war no more, no more.
Yeah, we just gotta work on the leopards.
Yeah. Oh, I think I have covered most areas of the plan. Saturday afternoon is a barbecue. It's an awesome, awesome barbecue. And Mike, wave your arms to all the new people here. You're gonna learn to really like this. It's $20 cheap. You can pay Christian tonight. Just about every mode of payment is acceptable, it's green stamps and postage. Maybe I'm speaking out of school there. That,
We have a tradition for the past several decades that we have a pickles meeting before field day. Are we gonna have one?
we're gonna have a pickle meeting dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the week beforehand. I don't think we're gonna need a pickle meeting. Because we are all so efficient and eager to have all the details. Nothing's gonna be like.
So we call the meeting so we can write it off.
And does Bill Pickles have dinner?
You're writing that off?
You didn't know.
I'll have to ask you.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, Pickles is a deli in Newbury Park. We'll have and I really do hope we're not trying to figure out. I am too new at this to put it off the ballot.
So as the educational chairman of the club,
Mhm.
would you care to mention any of the educational opportunity features of field day?
Yes, specifically, starting in a small scale, is going to be an exhibit on CW and ways of teaching it. I think there's actually going to be children involved in that. There's another call sign that has been used.
Yeah, basics IDS, which we will only be able to use this one last time because the owner of that call sign, who's lived in the UK for a long time, is going to let it lapse. It was Steve Champion, who was the president of this club long ago, and it was CARS, the Champion Amateur Radio Society, which is him, his wife, and their 3 kids are the members of that club. And we've used it for go to station, not going to use it out, have a go to station this time. So instead, we'll just have low power repeater only type thing to use K6 IDS just as a demonstration thing for kids or for visitors in general. And of course, it'll be low power repeater, so it won't interfere with any real 2-meter field day operations. And that will just be part of the demo thing, and it won't be part of the club's entry or anything. Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then Morse code toys and Morse code lessons, teaching visitors how to send their name in Morse and stuff like that.
In a larger view, education on field day is, you're never gonna find another opportunity, no matter how many years you've been doing it, to see how other people are setting up here, how many different ways there are to do it, how many right answers there are to the question,
And what works better than others?
and what works better than others. And, you know, my own home station is vastly improved from what I've seen out in Valley the last 2 years. It's improved by what I saw last year out of the day.
And if you're new to the hobby and you just have a tech license, there's plenty of people around to act as control operators. So you don't need to worry about, you know, getting your general license just so you can be a field day.
Yep, just to repeat that, you can operate any one of these bands with a technician license. You can operate any one of these bands and radios without a license. Bring your friends, spouses, children, whatever. One of the key features of the ham radio is that a control operator. Radio, but one thing a band captain may want to do is serve as a control operator for other people to try out radio. There is a type of station most clubs put together called a GOTA, get on the air station. And it's some points, but there's always been an awful lot of hoops to jump through to get those points. They've made it a little easier this year, but not enough to make it worth it. If we have important people and visitors coming by that we would like to put on radio, one feature of the way we tend to be a field day is that there's generally a radio or two available for anybody. If you bring a friend by and you want to show them how it works, grab an empty radio, get on, demonstrate it, put them on. It's a huge sales day for us. PR day.
You know, and of course, down at the Reagan, whether or not we quote unquote go to a station, we do always have an extra HF rig set up at our PIO tent that allows people to come in to just sit there and operate and use it. We don't go for the go-to points because of the hoops, but it solved a real problem for us. If you get somebody that's making a run for 3 or 4 hours, we got operators that will get 400 cues in 3 hours. Okay, just to put it in perspective, and trying to pull them away from that microphone when they're running, it's hard to do. It's hard to get another person on the radio at that time. So we always make sure we have an extra radio percent.
For all the people that haven't been to a field day before, we're joking around about how that club, you know, bang, 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 bang with fusos and we sit around chatting. Most of what you guys do during the day is dealing with the passersby.
Absolutely.
They're at the Reagan Library, everybody walking by. So everybody's primary job is PR guy.
If you want to talk to 6,000 people in a 24-hour period, come to the Reagan. We'll sit you out in front of a PIO desk.
We don't have anywhere near the same kind of foot traffic coming by, but there's still people there the whole time. And that is a big part of the weekend.
I've always loved the trademark phrase of Bob Paul KK6QB. It's a hobby, you know, a little R with a circle around it. His registered trademark, you know, It's a hobby. Keep it in perspective, right? Yeah.
But the opportunity to sell that hobby and especially sell its applicability for emergency communications. I'll get to you in just a second. Gary?
Picking up celebrities and politicians, have you put out invitations to?
Yeah, a lot of that's in progress. I'll get some of that updated on the spreadsheet online. I'm making a lot of references to the spreadsheet. I decided not to bring a laptop and put it up here because everybody knows what it says. We're familiar with it. It's 30 years been used. Martin created it. It's just a
Bill created.
Bill created it. Bill created it, and I give credit to Martin for creating.
That works.
People comments that for everyone I put there to close this site, I'll be monitoring whether you need something out of the ordinance. So I'm probably
So you could be a shill for my station. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's something crazy. Right.
Yeah.
So if somebody's about to do something dangerous, we need to get you on logo first to come out and stuff.
Right.
Site for the big year, yes, I'm sure. Okay, the previous years have worked out very well, but it is essential that you don't disturb the people around it. Okay, it's surrounded by residents that they behave better than on that. And that little sign there you see on the left, don't have anything. It's a preserved area. You don't want anything in there that area shows. They take a very dim view of anybody tracing around there. So the name of the game is when you come back, the site is for free. Look at that. You have to be very good at that.
For those of you who are new, make a comment. When I first hooked up with the club, one of the things they put me on was 10 meters. And the reason I mentioned that is there was a fear I had. I was doing a hobby, speaking, due to a microphone. You're always afraid you're going to do something that's going to affect the club negatively, screw up the club. I learned quickly that that is true in certain bands, but not true everywhere. There are places, and one of the reasons I spent so many years hanging out at 10 meters was I realized there was nothing I was going to do that would negatively impact the club. With my, contact, no contact. It was a great practice area, and we used to bring people in who were mic shy. Things like that, work 10 meters, because you cannot do anything to hurt us. 10 meters. It's a great band to learn on, get comfortable in, practice, get used to the process without fear. So there are a lot of other bands like that as well. I would encourage you, you're new, you've got shyness, you're afraid, you don't want to hurt the club. There are places, there are things you can do that are not going to hurt the club. It's great fun, great practice.
Yeah, the first thing there is a chance you're gonna be talking to people.
Yeah, I know. I haven't done this at the bottom of the solar cycle. And I couldn't get the library. No?
Very true. He was prepared by Ed. I know I don't want to take credit, but I'm tired of hearing the second document. Last week. So there, I know one person positive Jackie. Not sure about Brownlee. A lot of teaching business is really.
You know what, I mean, it's obvious, like, you get on these guys' schedule as quickly as possible, because they're gonna visit sites on that day, or you want that ground.
But it's also been pretty good about it, going to the library and. Hopefully they will all be, those two will be there.
Let me emphasize one more thing. It doesn't go beyond this room, but SEC Sherwood developing loves it. They see politicians and people that determine their building permits, okay, come by and make a big deal about this thing. So this is one of the reasons we're letting us use this thing. We want to see some kind of publicity that's positive to their company.
Yeah, we definitely put them in a good light. Especially as much as we're able to do so.
Did you want to talk about the interference kits you were looking at?
Yes, I want you to get that. Still focusing mostly on the selling field.
Where is it?
373 West Potrero Road. And you can do that in the Google Maps with either Thousand Oaks or Westlake. It shows up at the same spot.
In Overtime?
373 West Potrero Road.
There are maps, address.
You can put in about 10 different addresses to get the same spot, because the post office just allocated those numbers the last couple of years.
By the entrance to Sherwood.
And last year, among the elected officials we had coming by was the sheriff. Go ahead. What was that? Yeah, it was coming from the sheriff's department.
So far, it appears that, the sheriff has been invited to come the top under sheriff, assistant sheriff, and then local people at the center. They do all of them.
They stayed for several hours longer than expected last year. One of the things that was the biggest eye opener for them, or the most entertaining to them as a group, I think, was the fact that we were sending email radio in one link. And you never know what's going to be the thing that really excites them.
They loved it when we contacted the ISS.
Yeah, that was another thing. Victor did win most of the VIP for visiting. Astonishingly lucky pass. For Newham's, the ISS carries a repeater, a cross-band repeater. I think 2 meters, and you listen back on 440. And it had a pass right overhead. Victor was able to make contacts with everybody watching. It was a great moment. There's a ton of things going on with ham radio, and most of them tend to be going on this weekend. And we just need all the new people there and active. I keep saying 4 years. I've actually been a ham for 3.5 years. Stuck in this. So we need you guys to come up and do this. Volunteers. Filter broker. I think I've covered my list, so. No, that's the way I now got everything. Nobody gets off that easy. One of our interference fighting things is that everybody is going to have a filter for their band and mode. The club has 15 different very high quality filters. Most of them are tuned for portions of the band. So they've got a different. Most of them have a label that says they've been tuned for parts of the band.
I guess, I know where they're at.
Yeah. Every radio is going to have them on it. It's going to go a long way towards helping with some types of. So if you bring a radio, your coax is going to come from whatever antenna. Plug into this. This end will plug into your radio. We're providing both. Unless you have something similar yourself. And if you do, just tell me so that I can set one of these aside for you. We can get 11 turns through there. That's about the same as 120 cents. Very deep. Your coax is pretty effective at cutting common mode.
Can I make one comment?
About how much.
Well, no, this actually has to do with the benefit of the filter. It's something you have to understand. If you think you're putting the filter on for you, you are sorely mistaken. You are putting the filter on your radio for everyone else. You are unable to get a harmonic out of your radio. So great example is if you're on 15, or excuse me, if you're on 40, you've got harmonics on 15, and the poor person operating on 15 is washed out by everything you transmit. Okay, so just bear in mind that filter ain't for you. It is for all your brother and sister amateur radio operators out here working with you. So if you think you can just take it off because you don't need it, no, you're looking at it the wrong way. Okay,
You're right. We've never had anyone take them off that I'm aware of, but last year we had an awful lot of them still in the box. Yeah. And some interference. And a lot of that interference could be directly contributed to that. We're going to have mostly dipoles. The club will provide some, but if you're providing a dipole, it needs to have the balun on it, 1-to-1 balun at the feed point. Or choke. If you just show up with coax and a dipole, you need to get a toroid and wind a choke onto it. You should have a balun and a choke, something that looks like that on both ends.
But not the filter.
No, not the filter on the top. And we'll do a little checking to make sure that the filter actually matches the band you want to know. So everybody at the band captain will be getting a bag like this. This is an example. These aren't the actual bands that are being used. Last year, we had some new, really nice club stuff, some, a whole bunch of beautiful 3-foot coax patches. We don't have as many of them now. Stuff wanders. So I have nursery tags, so about a few thousand nursery tags. Everything that the club is handing out is gonna have a nursery tag on it. Which of course, if somebody's nefarious, they could just take it off. Like a thing. They're not those kind of people. It's just inadvertently, it ends up in your own kit, so back in the club. So for every band captain, I'm gonna give you a bag. It's gonna be out there on Friday with the setup. It'll be the band that it's for, the operator. This one has 2 codes on it because I'm setting up a station that K6KY is actually the band captain for. He can't be there till Saturday morning. So he's arranged for somebody to sell this stuff up. I'm not using my radio that weekend. And the checklist of what's in the bag. So that when you're breaking down, you throw it back in the bag, drop it back up the front of the field site. Then we close the door and go with the equipment. It's not only going to be easier to keep track of our stuff, but it means we're going to, as I'm putting these together, I can make sure that every station has the stuff they need. So that we're not scrambling on Saturday morning. Saturday morning is going to be, I think, a great time to sit around and drink coffee and count in minutes for the fun.
It's all very first.
Info and there's problems. Now, for a century now, the field day has been about putting people together in situations that cause interference that we don't usually face in our own home shacks. It's going to happen. We're going to have interference. And there's several ways to approach it. In order of preference, there's finding a cure for it that's quick and easy and can be done. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes one of the cures is going to have to be live with it. That's the reality of putting a whole bunch of radio in one spot. I think if you talk to people dealing with, up on Mount Wilson with all the antennas there, all that stuff there, they have to be. It's a very challenging site. We have a lot of options for how to deal with it. Sometimes it might be just living with the interference and trying to ignore it. Sometimes we might need to find out where it's coming from. People may timeshare. Last year, Ed and Andy, for some reason, their radios were absolutely joined at the hip. Whatever either one did, the other one did. Absolutely. And what they ended up doing is just saying top half of the hour is one, bottom half of the hour is the other. And it was zero problem at that point. And interfered, only one radio is operating. That's I think the least attractive, most extreme case.
Yeah, I'm bringing that radio again, so. Whoever's on the other side of that.
Andy's thinking I should be.
That's why I moved.
Yeah, Andy also signed up for a different band before.
One comment I will make is what we have found at the Reagan is if another station is interfering with you, a reduction of their power, it does wonders. Now, what that means is you've got another operator, if you're the source of interference, you've got another operator walking up to you and saying, how much power are you running? I'm running 100 watts. Well, can you step back to maybe 60 or 70 watts because you're in my system? Now, we're all good ham radio operators, right? So if somebody does ask you to reduce your power, reduce your power, okay? Be a buddy, help them out.
Every bit of interference we get is not a source. It's a chance to be good hands and solve it.
Educational
It's an
opportunity.
educational opportunity. And part of that means as soon as you're experiencing it, I would like to speak up and we'll start fixing it. Don't sit on it and stew for a couple of hours until you're starting to get touchy.
Hey, wait, I resemble that, Stu.
I said what I said.
Also, there will be very soon a copy of the interference checklist on the webpage. Get that up there. So if you are a band captain, you are experiencing interference, there are steps that you can take from your end, either in the terms of how you're connected to the antenna or the radio, or higher operating rate, that may help reduce the cost.
One issue we had last year is we had digital, then a voice tent, and then a CW tent. They were 3-4 miles apart. It wasn't conducive to talking with people on other modes. You get your radios were not working all together. So this year, all the radios are going to be closer together, which makes the problem bigger in some ways, or more challenging, a bigger problem. More opportunities for education. But it does mean that the other people are going to be close enough to actually interact with them. And again, for new people, if you're not bringing a station, it's still fun to watch that. That's when you're set, which happens sometimes. When you're setting up your first HF radio at home, you're going to be stunned at how much garbage there is in the radio waves in all of our houses. Some of it from our houses, some from our neighbors. And field day is kind of a miniature version of what we all have to face in the world with radio operators. Sometimes it's easy to go in the other room and unplug something. Sometimes you have to talk to the neighbors. You've got interference that you cannot deal with. I think the most famous of those are pool heaters and grow houses.
Row houses.
Yeah, where there's not a person there to even talk to.
Well, sometimes.
I-
Dryer times.
Well, and washing machine.
LG
Yeah,
dishwasher.
LG washing.
My washing machine is terrible interference.
I actually was allowed to fix a neighbor's grow light. We won't mention the person, what side of the neighborhood or anything else, but they can be corrected with floor lights. And there are known ways to do it. But that was an interesting conversation. You know, you knock on a neighbor's door and say,
We're not discussing who's growing. Yes, that's just.
"Yeah."
Indoor market here.
Had a neighbor that was 5 houses away from me, had a plasma TV.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Those
You could always tell when he was watching the.
There is one of the TVs at Boney Mountain Sandwich Sports Bar or whatever on Wendy
Oh, yeah.
that gets in my house. It's not close. They got one TV set and it was like walking around with an AM radio looking for it for weeks. And when I finally walked in there, they were at first being interested, but I'm sitting there with the radio. Like that TV is really bad. And all of a sudden he was startled. He changed the TV. Sometimes it works out good. But anyway, these are games that are going to have lessons that are valuable all the time. It is interesting.
And the more you know, the more you know.
Here's another question, I think, where's parking in your map? I've never been there.
Probably this area up in here. Everybody's going to want to park near the tents to unload, but I think it would be nice to then move the cars up on the far side with the barbecue and motor home.
And visitors?
Visitors will be parking around in there. And even in this layout, it's kind of hard to realize just how much space there is. Yeah. Yeah. Even the road is wide enough to park a couple of cars in. I think it will sort of, the visitors, it will happen organically. And the rest of us will just try and get people up past the motor home.
Looks like you took the barbecue off the park closed.
No, that was one of the areas we might camp in.
Okay.
Not too many people camp, but I spend both nights usually. I really kind of enjoy it. This is full of wildlife at night.
Lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
There's a herd of deer that more or less lives in a patch.
A herd of beer?
Yeah, bear. All herd of bear.
Beer. I said beer. Yeah.
Deer. I saw a bobcat here last year, which is always exciting because if bobcats are around, you know they're no hunt. Bobcats.
But
live
there's
area.
a bobcat around, right?
Yeah, bobcats aren't that threatening in person. They weigh about that most cats. Mostly. They're just a sign that you don't need to worry much about all those eyes you think you see. Anyway, it's very, very pleasant in the mornings there, early morning at dawn. Take a lot of fun. Your questions, your comments on what I forgot? Oh, come on, I forgot something. We'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
What's your approach here? Do you have single operator doing everything at a radio, or an operator and a logger, or?
We have not had in my years anybody working so fast that they need somebody logging for them. That's not to say that somebody can log for somebody. It's socially beneficial. I only know one operator that goes so fast that he needs a logger, and that's why at Reagan, they talk about how many QSOs they get. Most of it's Pete.
Yeah, a lot of it's Pete, and at one time, a lot of it was Greg.
Yeah, Pete, who everybody knows as Mr. Hypan, does 20 meters from one day a year that he does.
That is my problem. So,
So if you, would you wanna be a logger or you a logger? Speak up. We'll find somebody to help you.
is there enough room to get a logger? I mean, I don't know your land. I've seen pictures of when you guys were at Maple.
Mhm.
You guys were like almost on top of each other, it seems, so squeezed in another unit in there.
Yeah, but Maple, we always had logger, was operator logger.
Okay.
Yeah, because, we normally have like one band per 6 foot table.
Right.
So that you get.
Yeah, and with everybody bringing their own table this year, hopefully, it'll still be no more tight as this.
We've,
And, you know,
we've
it's gonna have
accommodated
15
loggers.
stations, two of those big tents.
Yeah, that's a
We're-
lot of
we're-
station.
There's a lot of.
Oh, no, that's what seems to be what we want.
One thing we will be doing with message handling, we get a lot of points for different things, so especially people that aren't familiar with what that might mean. We send out certain standard types of messages to certain people and get points for doing so. And
But it's not-
ironically, one of the ways we will be doing that, one of the only 2 meter stations we can reach happens to be at the Reagan Library. With AM6 GUE on the 60-foot mast on the helipad.
In 6 months.
So, sorry, he'll be on 6 cars. And we'll be going back and forth with Jim to take care for both clubs. Very convenient.
And a whole lot of wind length last year. You guys can be doing wind length this year?
Yeah, and I hope that everything's going smoothly enough that I'm not doing too much of the headless chicken thing.
What do you think about moving barrels? Field day?
I haven't heard anybody doing it. I can't think of any reason there wouldn't be, other than the fact that only about 8 people do it. So, relatively speaking, obviously, it's an exaggeration. My impression is I've been playing with it is that it's almost ready for it. Yeah, it's really close to being something pretty cool. Anything else?